So I wanted to make this special episode to answer a lot of questions going on right now. LA is going through some tough times with the fires, people losing their homes, seeing what they worked for so hard for so long just burned down right in front of them. And I feel that the least I could do right now is get somebody that I could trust on to provide some guidance and some resources to help you get back on your feet. AJ is somebody I served with in the military, and he's been doing this for 20 years, over 20 years, and has helped consumers beat the big insurance companies in many cases that also involve fire. So I hope you enjoy this episode. And if you have any further questions, or if you know anybody that could need assistance and you just don't know where to go or how to take the right approach or where to start, just send me a message. I'll be more than happy to plug you in, help you out, guide you as much as I can, or get you to the right people. They're going to get you back on your feet.
What do you mean? I'm the high-ranking soldier in this shit. What do you mean? Hit the rock bottom, now I'm guaranteed. What do you mean? Buzz-worthy viral drops, I'm the NFT. What do you mean? 6 figures on the daily, not enough for me. What do you mean? Keep constant looking at the real MVP. What do you mean? Sal already rocking profits, call me Wall Street. What do you mean? Skill genius, go ahead and follow me. What do you mean? War ready, loaded, click, clock, fuck with me.
Welcome to another episode of Unfuck Yourself. And today we do have a special guest, and it's unfortunate regarding everything that's happening currently in California, in Los Angeles. So I just thought it'd be a great idea to bring somebody in, a close friend of mine who I could trust, and I know will definitely give us the answers to the questions everybody in this current time might be having. So I want to introduce a good friend of mine, AJ Traslaviña, owner of Semper Fi Public Insurance Adjusters, over 23 years experience, 20 years with the United States Marine Corps as well. So he's a fellow vet, and over 1,000 claims adjusted over the last year working for big carriers. And AJ, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thank you for having me. So, first, my feel bad for everybody. My condolences to everybody who's lost something, and many who have lost everything.
So I want to start off with just some quick stats of how crazy this is. And I have lived in LA for the majority of my life, never experienced anything like this. We often hear about earthquakes, and occasionally we do get fires, but 24 deaths, over 12,000 structures completely damaged or burned down, acres burned, over 1,050,000 and continuing to burn because a lot of these fires are still not fully contained. Economic impact, they're talking between the $135 billion to $100 billion in losses expected. This is a crazy number. How do you as an adjuster even start preparing for something like this? Do you guys ever get training for this? Is this something that you ever foresaw?
Yeah, so as a public adjuster, we're on the other side, right? We're here for the public, so we're not here on the insurance side with their data and their numbers. But we do know that it's an impact, and it's all going to be on how much they own of the policies, and depending on the insurance company, the carrier, whatever they have in the market, their market share is what's going to be impacted. If they've prepared for it, I'm not sure, because that's all their side of the business.
So,
it's devastating.
In your line of business, and obviously you've been doing this for over 20 years now.
Yeah.
When situations like this happen, who contacts you first? Is it always going to be the public calling you first? Do insurance call you first and kind of say, hey, this is kind of what we want to discuss first, and go that route? What's that process like?
Yeah, so the process usually when we get contact is usually not when a catastrophe happens. Usually it's day-to-day activities. Fires happen and we get notified, and we'll go out and meet with clients. In this situation, we actually have to wait. We cannot solicit. So public adjusters cannot solicit or be out there engaging the public to engage services. We have to be contacted. Like, for example, I'm being contacted by referrals or past clients that need help in those areas that have had claims before. I have a family member that's had a claim. So public adjusters have to wait till 7 days after the disaster's been lifted before we can go into those areas and start engaging customers. But if customers solicit us, or they go and do their own searches and trying to figure out, they should know what a public adjuster is and what the other types of adjusters are. So a public adjuster, is it okay if I share that now? So public adjuster means an insurance adjuster who do not work for the insurance company. They work for you, the insured, to assist in the preparation, presentation, and settlement of your claim. You hire them by signing a contract and agree to pay them a fee or commission based on the percentage of the settlement on the other method of compensation. Public adjusters are required to be licensed, bonded, and tested by the state of California to represent the insured only. And so that's the definition from the Department of Insurance. And then the other two adjusters in California are a company adjuster. That means an insurance adjuster who work for the employees of your insurance company or employed by your insurance company. They represent your insurance company and are paid by your insurance company. They will not charge you a fee and are not individually licensed or tested by the state of California. In this case, in this catastrophe, a lot of companies are going to be sending out independent adjusters. They'll be contracting out companies to come out and represent the insurance company on their behalf. So if the insurance company can't show up, they're going to contract a private firm or private company to come out and be their eyes and ears. Some of those guys are licensed, some of them are not. And their definition, independent adjuster means an insurance adjuster who are hired on a contract base by your insurance company to represent the company in the settlement of the claim. They are paid by your insurance company. They will not charge you a fee. You have the right, but are not required to use the services of a public adjuster in the preparation and handling of your insurance claim. So those are the three definitions. Those are the ones that are important. And so a lot of our people that will be reaching out to us are either referral or looking for us because they want to get somebody there as soon as possible that can help them explain the claim process. Everybody, there's going to be two sides: people that have a total loss and people that have a partial loss.
So from what you're telling me now, so what steps should a homeowner take immediately after the property has been damaged or destroyed, especially here with this whole wildfire? And how can they expedite this claim? Because it seems like it's going to be quite a delayed process with so many claims going to be filed here really soon.
Yeah, so the first thing to do is, one, protect the property. So there's duties to do after a loss, and protect the property is one of them. Make sure you're safe and a safe place is also part of the process. But filing the claim, whether you have a claim, whether you think you have a claim, whether you haven't been up there or not to see if your home has been fully destroyed or partial, you want to file the claim to your carrier so that they can get a claim number assigned and get a claims adjuster assigned to you as soon as possible, because they're going to go in the order they come in. So if you're waiting to see what you have to do, you can always withdraw the claim later if you choose not to move forward with the claim. But you definitely want to get, in essence, get in line, right? Like if you're at a store and pulling a number. And so you can go through that by contacting the carrier and filing directly, or if you have somebody helping you, they'll file the claim for you.
So would this be something like in the position where you come in? So instead of me calling my insurance directly, I could call you first, or do I call the insurance first and then call you afterwards so I could get a more thorough investigation of what that process is going to look like?
Yeah, so I would definitely say you definitely want to we would obviously say you want to speak to us first so that we can speak to you about your claim and find out whether you even need our services, right? Because if you need our services, we're going to recommend why it's important you need our services, and the services we'll be able to provide. Other clients won't need our services, and so we'll still guide them on what they need. And an example for that is people who lost everything, who are total loss. Our principles and our morals and philosophies would think that the insurance companies are going to come out and write, the limit of the policy or whatever they have stated on their policy in order to make them whole again. But we have to see if that happens. And, the last few adjusters I've spoken to in this past over the weekend and last week, it sounds like some of them are going to come out and do that. Others have different guidance. So the people that have a total loss, it's important that when they hire somebody, making sure that they'll be very transparent in what they're going to do for the client. I've made it very clear that if my clients are paid whatever their policy states, then I really didn't provide them a service. Their policy was reached by just what devastation they had, right? But then you also have the other side of it, where you have people who have partial burns, half their house got burned, they have smoke and heat damage, and those are the ones who will probably benefit the most from our services, to go out there and look at the claim and see what's the best method of repair, and presenting that to the insurance company in order for them to get the funds needed in order to do all the repairs needed.
So I think that brings up a very important question, and it's something that I believe a lot of my clients that have lost properties have brought up, and that is with the increase price living in LA, and will standard policies be sufficient? And is that even such a thing that they might run into, that, hey, I did so much on this property in the Palisades, which I think was worth $10 million, but now the coverage is basically stating that it's only worth 3.5 or $4 million. Like, what
Right,
happens then,
right.
and what options do they have at that point?
Yeah, so that's the unfortunate side of it, because a lot of policies are written with the anticipation that the property's not going to burn down. That's what I was taught. I would say 15 years ago, when dealing with carriers, that when they write a policy, they expect for the fire department and services to show up in order to knock it down, so we wouldn't have to insure for 100%. Later, they started to insure for 100% of what they believe the property would cost to rebuild. The issue is that the cost to rebuild is outpacing the policy, and
Mm.
they're not renewing the policy to what should be the appropriate cost to rebuild, or it'd be too much for the insured to pay. So a lot of people just left it the way it was. So we're hoping that that's where I think the government would kick in and help subsidize what's not covered, right? Because if you have enough and they pay for everything you have, but you're still short 200,000 or 2 million, then that's where we need the government to come in and help subsidize in order to rebuild the infrastructure and the communities all over again. That's the unfortunate side of it.
And then, is there costs associated? I know we talk about deductibles and out of pockets. So when one is going through this process, I'm assuming there's so much emotion. You lost your property. You're probably paying for a hotel right now. You might not have access to whatever you might have had at the time. I mean, what does that look like? What are those fees that have to come out of the pocket in the beginning, and what other out of pocket expenses can they expect during this whole claim process?
So good question. So in theory, no one should be coming out of pocket during the claim process. That's what the insurance is for, right? So in every claim, you have your structure, which is your home or building, your business. And then you have your personal property or your business property, which would be laptops, computers, or furniture, right? And then you have your living arrangements, your housing arrangements, or for a business could be business interruption, that's for they call it BI. So in that situation, the insureds right now are probably paying for a hotel. Have to keep those receipts, and they're paying for meals, and they should get reimbursed for all those expenses that they're incurring at the time. But there are vendors out there, housing vendors that are available for the insurance companies to offer, so that people can have them pay for their hotel versus an owner or an insured having to pay for their own hotel. They don't have to use the vendor. They can do it themselves, but if they choose to go with the vendor, they can get a vendor to pay for their hotel. As far as the receipts go for food and whatnot, all those are as they spend it. Then the insurance company would reimburse for those costs. So as far as deductibles go, a lot of policies state that when it's an accident and it's not the insured's fault, then the deductible shouldn't apply. It's all depending on
Mm.
the policy language and what's stated in there. If it's so, yeah, sorry, it all depends on the policy language. But for the deductibles, most insured should not be paying for the deductible. If it is being paid for, usually it'll just get deducted from the settlement. So whatever your deductible is, whatever the settlement is, they'll just take it from there in order to pay the deductible back. And when it comes to it's another side, when it comes to rebuild and whatnot, a lot of contractors will absorb that deductible for you in order to be able to show good faith that they want to do your job, right? So to answer the question, nobody should be paying money out of pocket for any services. Everything should be getting provided or some sort of assistance. I know a lot of clients are getting their housing taken care of and looking at putting deposits and whatnot. All that is for rent and whatnot is refundable. Deposits are not refundable because they expect the insured to get that money back when they move out, right? So
Yeah.
that's always one that gets a little confusing because deposits can be $5,000, $10,000.
Correct.
So
You bring up the whole process of rebuilding and construction. we already have delays as it is already when we have claims put in and they have to go through that construction period, the whole process. We are now talking about thousands of people that are going to go flood for these claims. What will that do to the rebuilding process? And what do you foresee construction and the rebuilding and all that coming back? I mean, would this be years and years, or you? I mean, what do you foresee on that?
Yeah, so I mean, it's going to take a long time. I mean, all these cities are going to be inundated with plans and permits and designs to rebuild, and all those need to be approved. And as far as the construction companies go, I'm sure they don't all have this type of capital to just front the money to get the projects going on every single home, right? They may be able to start a couple, but I'd imagine they need some funds to get going or some kind of agreement. And it's just going to be a matter of similar to us, right? Not taking everything. We only can take what we can handle, and making sure that the people that are doing the work can actually handle and go through the whole process of rebuilding the homes. But on average, plans can take anywhere between 2 to 4 months to get approved. And if you're thinking about all of these structures in one city, I think they're going to have to bring other resources to help them go through plan check and whatnot in order to get their building approved to get it rebuilt. And for the construction side, I can't speak to how they're going to approach it or how they plan to finance or work their participation or projects with the clients. But it's going to be a long process. I'd anticipate over a year, maybe probably 2 to 3 years before these homes are back up again.
And does the insurance provide the vendors you could use, or does the homeowner do that himself? Can he go interview people and submit that to the insurance company, or the insurance company will just give you a list and say, hey, these are the only people you got to use for this?
So every insurance carrier is going to do it differently, but they all have vendors that you can use. They'll provide you somebody that you can use in order to do the repairs, who's supposed to be on their preferred list to go out and fix people's homes. Same thing with them. They need to spin the wheel and keep getting to the next vendor to the next vendor. But every client can choose anybody they want. They can hire any contractor they want. They can hire any engineer they want. They can move where they want to move, go where they want to go. Even if the property is paid off, then they can choose to rebuild and take their money and go elsewhere, right?
Mm.
So there's different clauses in there for the insured, and but the insured has the right to choose whoever they want during the process, and if they choose to, they can tell the insurance company to provide them a vendor to help them if they don't want to go out and search for anybody.
What do you think this will do now to insurance carriers here in California? I mean, this is not a new trend with the whole fire thing. We saw the whole thing happen with State Farm pulling out. I read a report that State Farm had been addressing the fire issue since 2015, 2016, and made many memos regarding the cleanup of some of this stuff. And it's one of the reasons why they pulled out. What will this do to consumers as far as cost, and how hard is it going to be now to get insurance and premiums and all this? In your perspective, what do you think this will do?
So that's a good question. So I believe the Department of Insurance had recently allowed for the insurance companies to increase their premiums, right? Increase their premiums on everybody in order to try to offset what the cost is for the policies that are going to be paid out in order to keep the company solvent, right? I believe it was one of the insurance companies had did an emergency declaration to increase premiums right away. I think it may have been the one you mentioned, to try to make themselves whole or to be solvent. So there is a path to recovery for the insurance companies, and that path is to increase premiums in order to keep insurance in place. It's unfortunate, but if they're not going to be allowed to increase or try to keep their rates low, then those companies are a business and they're going to have to exit. And so we have to be prepared that, hey, there's going to be an offset in order to adjust the market so that we can make these payments. And the foreseeing future, I mean, it's going to happen. It was already announced, I think a few months ago, There was a 5-year plan to increase premiums every year for all the companies over the next 5 years in order to, like I said, in order to adjust for the market, as we talked about earlier, the cost. So now that's happened, as long as they're going to be allowed to do that, then it would only make sense that they should stay and keep people's policies in place.
Yeah. I want to ask some of the questions that we have been submitted on, and hopefully we can get some light into it. One of them was, what does the moratorium issued by the Department of Insurance mean, and what to do next?
So what it means is the last one I'd seen was that they've issued a 1 year, meaning that nobody's policy can be canceled. So if you're coming up on renewal in the next, February, for example, your policy is supposed to renew, then your policy is not supposed to get canceled. They have to renew you and keep your policy in place for another year after that, right? So everybody from the date of the loss or from the date it was issued have that time to get their policy renewed, and the insurance companies have to carry them. That's important because what if something happens again in the next year while they're rebuilding? We want to make sure they're covered still.
Another great question that they sent, and I thought it'd be a good one to ask too. It's, do I continue to pay my insurance policy and my mortgage even though I don't have a home anymore because it got burned down?
Yeah, that's correct. So you still have to pay for the mortgage. I'm not sure if the mortgage companies are going to take any kind of action like they did with COVID and putting people in forbearance and making them, adding 6 months or whatever it might be. If you can avoid that for people's, financial means, I mean, I would definitely talk to a financial advisor on what the best choice is on that approach. But the mortgage still has to be paid. No one's suspending the mortgage during that time. People that have housing insurance, which is part of their what's called additional living expenses or loss of use, that's the money they're supposed to use in order to rent a place while the home is being repaired and pay the mortgage, right? So you're not paying for your rental, so you can afford to pay for your mortgage still. So that's the loss of use. And loss of use, you can find your own place. You can have a housing company help you find a place. You can, if you have a property that's yours, it's available, that you're able to go rent. You're entitled to that money as additional living. You just have to incur the cost of that money.
Another question was, every policy states what to do after a loss, duties after a loss.
Yep.
I don't have a policy. I don't understand that one, but maybe you
Yep.
can provide some insight.
So a lot of people don't know what to do, right? And so they don't have a policy because it was burned in the fire. So they can immediately contact the insurance company and request a policy, and they should be able to get a link to download it. I also recommend the insured get a certified copy of their policy, which will take, on a regular day, 72 hours to get. With this many people requesting a certified copy, it might take a couple weeks to get. But that's the certified copy of your policy that, that's in place, that's on the record. But you can still get a copy of your policy. And in that policy, it'll state your duties after a loss. So I can pull up, I know I had it up earlier, what to do after a loss. It'll talk about protecting your property, calling your insurance companies, steps of dealing with your insurance adjuster, additional living, personal property, dwelling, trees, shrubs. So these are all things that'll be in the policy that we help interpret. So as a public adjuster, we know policy and go through it with the insured to make sure we are able to go over all their coverages and everything they would be entitled to when representing them. The insurance company will go over that also. They're supposed to go through it with a fine-tooth comb and explain to the insured all of their coverages and everything they're supposed to have.
So one thing that I also see, and it kind of goes off of the questions here, but I do want to bring up is number of ads now of fire restoration, people that do, restoration services and call us, we will take care of it. You don't have to worry about anything. We even file a claim for you, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, what should consumers be looking for when they see situations like that, and how can they prevent fraud or, getting taken advantage of?
Yeah, so the The only one who can help an insured is an insured themselves. They can obviously represent themselves in their own claim, and a public insurance adjuster are the ones who can help an insured during the claim process. I believe attorneys are also allowed to help. I know that in my claims, when an attorney gets involved, that the insurance company's legal team can only speak to the attorney. So in some claims, it usually will delay the process if you hire counsel, because it's more of an attorney speaking to attorney. And so that'll slow things. Whereas a public adjuster, we're speaking to the actual adjuster. And so those adjusters are giving guidance that, hey, if an attorney is involved, then you need to get our legal counsel involved. So it takes me to the next point as far as all these advertisements and whatnot that might be going out there. So a lot of those companies are vendors. They're personal property companies, or they're construction companies, they're water mitigation companies, they're restoration companies, they're testing companies. And a lot of those companies work with different public adjusters, different firms out there, or even the insurance company directly. You don't have to go with them. You can wait to go with your insurance company settlement and decide who you want to hire to do the work. I wouldn't personally get somebody involved on my personal property because if you've lost everything, how is anybody going to be able to help you with it? All of this list needs to be done. When we do an inventory, we have to visually see and inspect the item to put it on the list for the insured. So the insured can then go back and age it and price it for the insurance company. So there's still work for a client, even when all their stuff is visible, they still have to do work. So you can imagine that when everything is gone, all the work they have to do. And so for anybody to try to come in and say, hey, we're going to help you with your list, we're going to help you with your personal property, there's nothing to help. I can't create the list. Only you can create that list. Sure, we have memory joggers, and we can help you try to help you remember some of the things you may have lost. But those people already lost everything, and they're going to be working very hard to try to create their list as best as possible. And so for us, to the limit that we're involved in on that side is to the limit that will be, if there's any kind of fee involved or monetary payment, just to help people with that process. Because like I said, we can't do an inventory of stuff we can't see. So I don't know how any other company is going to do that. And you can't just copy somebody else's list. You have to build your own.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's unfortunate. I feel that every time there's always some sort of a bad situation, you're always going to have individuals that are going to come up and try to take advantage of the situation. You brought up loan modifications, and I got off the phone literally right before we jumped on with a veteran who's actually in our unit, by the way, second platoon, and they put him on multiple modifications. That now that he's selling his property, not only did the fee increase because there were prepayment penalties on those both modifications, but the way that modification was structured was so bad that it's eating up like 38% of his equity. And now it changes his whole plans on moving and all that. And it's all because he saw an ad. He felt that it was difficult timing. So instead of just calling the bank directly and trying to work with the bank, he went with this individual on the ad. And the worst part is they charged them 7% to make this happen for them, where I'm like, the bank could have done this for free for you and probably would have been a better deal, or move some of those payments towards the back, and then that's it. You would have just paid them later on. So it's unfortunate, but it does happen.
Yeah, it does happen. And so, when we're paid, right, when the settlement is paid, that's how we receive our fee. When the insurance company pays, that's how we get paid. So what I've heard over my years is when I've talked to clients, well, I hired this guy or this person, and they said they'd get paid by the insurance company. That's incorrect. The insurance company is not going to pay somebody unless they have direction to pay. And if you've signed something or some kind of document that you're giving authority and power of attorney to somebody to be paid directly, it's a cautionary tale, right? Just be careful of what's out there. When we're involved, we're not paid directly. We don't get a separate check. It comes directly from the proceeds of the client. So it's important that they know how we're able to benefit them, and if we can benefit them when we move forward. And I know I've been doing this a long time, so I know I do a great job for our customers and people out there. But like you're saying, there'll be a lot of people that say they can help clients, we can represent you, and a lot of them are just going through the claim process for the client, but in reality, they're going to get the check, and there might be something in their paperwork that gives direction to pay or something like that. And I've seen all this, too many stories over the years of where people have called me later. So, you got to be real careful, be sharp and make sure that you have your name on every check.
I like that. And it's the thing that, when you're going through the motions, you lost your property, you're not thinking right, and you're going to have all these people sending you stuff saying, hey, call this person for help, or call this, or the insurance is never going to be your friend, so you got to do this and that. And that's easily how you could get caught up and lost, just talking to the wrong person and being misguided.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, we're talking about a property here that's worth hundreds and thousands of dollars. It's like you should treat it very important and ensure you do every due diligence and contact the right people to ensure that you will be taken care of, and then not have a worse situation than what you're currently in right now.
Or if you have somebody if you have somebody that's going to be helping you from the very start. I mean, like I said, I've had clients that say, hey, we want you on from the very beginning. And I feel for the client, but it's only the right thing to do for me and our company and my firm. That if the insurance company goes out there and they're going to pay you everything you're entitled to, then like I said earlier, there's no reason to be paying somebody when the money is being paid already, if that makes sense, right? And so there is one other thing I do want to go over, or a couple other things. So one of them is when they talk about getting estimates, when people want to get estimates to rebuild and the cost. So the insurance companies will use different platforms. One of the main platforms that's used is Xactimate, and that's a software that it's standard by all the insurance companies to write up estimates. And the other one is called Symbility, which is another platform that only a couple use to write up estimates. And why is that important? Because back to this whole, hey, who can help you? Who can write up estimates? Just because somebody writes up an estimate, just because you have people going out there and writing the cost of repair, that doesn't mean it's to the insurance company standards to be acceptable. And so we use this program and this software to keep us all on an even playing field. So what separates us from an insurance company is the detail, the quality of the estimate, the quality of what we're presenting to the insurance company, right? The presentation and preparation of the claim. And so if we're using the same program that the insurance company is using, but our estimates, $100,000 difference, we're using the same software to show them, hey, you missed this, you missed this, you missed this. Whereas I don't want to speak bad about general con, but a construction company, right? If they don't have this software, of course they're going to write an estimate, but are they using the current market pricing that's being allowed by the insurance companies? I've had plenty of construction companies laugh, like, what do you mean they're only paying that much per square foot of floor or per square foot of drywall to hang it? And what do you mean they're paying? That's the insurance company standard. That's the insurance company pricing. And they'll tell me, well, we can't do it for that amount. Well, that's unfortunate, because there's a list of vendors that are out there that would do it for that amount, right? And so it's a standard practice. And so that's important, because there'll be people say, well, we'll write up the estimate, we'll deal with your insurance company, we'll negotiate it. And once again, back to that, cautionary tale, just be safe, be smart, talk to somebody who's not trying to necessarily get hired right away, but giving you the options, and you're able to feel good about, which way to go. And if that's with your insurance company, and if you feel good with what you're going through with your insurance company, then so be it, right? We've both been through a lot of stuff together, right? We've both been through a lot, and so I feel bad for everybody out there, and I feel bad for everybody that's lost everything, and I'm willing to help and provide all my information as best I can. And, and I just hope and pray that the insurance company just come out there and pay everybody what they're entitled to.
One
There's
question that I want to bring up, based on what you brought up a good point right now when you said, I'm talking to a contractor, and I'm sure this is going to be a very common question with a lot of homeowners. So I bought my property. I completely, amazing upgrades, right? I'm spending top tier dollar. I want this quality of finishes, the top of the top. Is the insurance taking that in consideration, or are they still going based of that norm of like, well, hey, typically the standard would be this cost for this, and if you wanted to go out and pay extra and get this type or whatever it was, then we're not taking that in consideration? Is that the way they're looking at it, or how do I
no,
justify
so
it?
the insurance company owes you for what you had in your home. So they owe you for what you had in your home to make you whole again. They have to bring you back. So the policy states they have to bring you back to pre-loss conditions up to the policy limit or any kind of extended and anything past that, right?
Yeah,
So if you had, marble countertops or marble floor, and then you're entitled to that. You're entitled to that. You're entitled to that pricing. So when they write these estimates up, there'll be, what they call a line item that'll describe your cabinets, and your cabinets are either going to be low grade, average grade, high grade, custom grade, custom plus, or even a simple bid item for the custom homes, right? Where there is no pricing that the system can do. We actually have to input a custom bid item, and we put that price into the software to show what a cabinet company is doing, or a tile company, or a floor company is doing for some of these custom homes, or if it was custom work. So they're entitled to what they had before, even if there's nothing in the policy that states what they had. So they would have to show or just explain it to them. And as long as you're able to see something, or maybe a picture from over the holidays, or anytime throughout your life, you're in the picture in the room, you're able to see some of the finishings that's in the home, all that's going to help. Goes back to the insurance adjusters will have to be out there to write estimates, and they should be walking every square foot of the home and asking, what did you have here? What did you have here? What did you have here? All the way up, did you have a light fixture here? Did you have a light switch here? How many light was it? Was it a 3-way light switch? Was it 2? All they can go. That's how detailed they can get.
wow.
But it doesn't have to be that detailed. We just need to get the insured what they're owed for, if they're, as long as they're not overinsured, right? I mean, there might be a few out there that have a tremendous amount of insurance on their home, so the insurance company is going to write that limit. But for everybody that appears to be underinsured, close to that amount, then I think it's only right for the insurance company to go out there and just do the right thing and make people whole again. Obviously, I'm not in the business side of that, and I'm not in the financial side of it for me to speak freely on their, I'm sure on their stockholders and shareholders, and easy for me to say. But I don't know how we don't do the right thing, right?
Right.
I'm not trying to be right. I'm just trying to get it right. So
Yeah. Well, thanks again, man. I really appreciate it, and great insight. And where can somebody contact you if they have more questions, or if they want to go
yeah.
ahead and?
So if they have more questions, they can email our office at claims@semperfiadjusters.com. They can contact our office at 323-944-3122. We're taking all calls, even into the night. And once again, we won't be reaching out to anybody or anything like that. We do have to be contacted, and because we have to wait. We're gonna follow it, follow the law the right way, and anybody that's out there that's soliciting shouldn't be until it's time for us to be out there. So I feel bad for everybody out there. I really do. It's a tough time.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but you know what? It's I've been seeing the effort by the community. I mentioned I was just in LA yesterday, and just the amount of support, the organizations coming together to help families. Many places just donating food, some shelter. Some of my clients have put up their Airbnbs for free for a
Yeah.
couple weeks to get people up on their feet. And then we're also seeing the ones that are doing the opposite. Rental
Right.
increases insane. I mean, I saw this property that was
Yeah.
$7,000 in Northridge. Now they want $14,000, and I'm just like, I mean, it's
Yeah.
pretty crazy, man.
Yeah. I mean, and what that might be being misunderstood is that people that are doing that thinking that the insurance company's paying for it, but insurance company's paying for it out of the insured's policy. So if a client only has 150,000 of insurance for housing, that means at that rate they can only last for a year and a half at that rate, right? Or something like that. So some people have I seen a client the other day that had very low coverages and said, hey, you need to go on your own. They should just pay you all of this because you don't have enough. Another client that has over 200,000 in housing money, so they need to divide that up over the next 24 months and find a place to stay. But same thing, that if the pricing starts to go up, they're not gouging the insurance company; they're gouging the policy that they need to make last for as long as possible. Because if
Yeah,
the Department of Insurance allows everybody to go up to 3 years for housing, they need to stretch that money out to
yeah,
last that long. Because now they're paying for a rental and a mortgage, right? And so
that
it's tough. And
takes.
for all those people that didn't have insurance, that's what we're hoping. The government kicks in for them also.
Yeah,
Renters insurance, same thing. Those policies should be paid to the renters also. If they don't have any insurance, then hopefully the government will help them and subsidize them also.
yeah. No, it makes sense. But thank you for the time, man. Appreciate it, and uh, your time to get here and answer these questions. And
Yeah,
yeah, man, we'll bounce back from this, and hope everybody gets the answers they need and able to put a
yeah,
game plan together that's going to help them out.
yeah. No problem. Anytime you need anything, anybody needs any help, just let me know, man. I appreciate you, brother.